The NFL thought it had Shadur Sanders all figured out. A spoiled kid riding the wave of his father's fame, a nepo baby drafted as nothing more than a curiosity, destined to fade away as just another headline. But the truth playing out in Cleveland right now is the kind of story no analyst predicted and no critic wants to admit. This isn't just about a rookie quarterback surviving the league. It's about someone quietly rewriting the rules of how to win in the NFL without ever throwing a meaningful pass. It began with the bombshell that should have ended his career before it ever started. In September 2024, Tony Rizzo, one of Cleveland's most plugged-in radio voices, went live with a claim that sounded damning. Shadur Sanders wasn't even running scout team. He was standing on the sidelines, refusing to take reps, watching while Bailey Zapp did the work. The accusation was toxic. A rookie quarterback refusing the grunt work? It was football heresy. ESPN picked it up. Fox Sports ran with it. Social media exploded. Nepo baby trended for 3 days straight. Analysts lined up to call him entitled, lazy, arrogant. Alex Smith questioned his football IQ on live TV. Brett Coleman called him delusional. Urinating Tree roasted him for 20 minutes in front of millions. For a week straight, the NFL world united around a single narrative. Shadur Sanders was everything wrong with modern athletes. But while the football world was salivating over his supposed downfall, Shedeur was smiling. Not the forced smile of someone trying to spin bad press, but the grin of a man who knew the truth was on his side. When Cleveland.com finally got him in front of a camera, the narrative collapsed in an instant. Not only was he running scout team, he was treating it like 6 games a week. Every rep, every snap, every drill was a chance to sharpen his game against one of the league's best defenses. He praised practice squad receivers most fans had never heard of, calling them explosive, saying they only needed opportunity. He laughed about potentially getting sacked by Myles Garrett, spinning it into a joke about how other teams don't even have a defender like that to sharpen their rookies. He wasn't bitter, wasn't entitled, wasn't sulking. He was thriving. Bill Musgrave, Cleveland's quarterback coach, confirmed it immediately. Every quarterback was getting reps and Shadur was diving headfirst into them. Rizzo's sources were either outdated, flat out wrong, or deliberately feeding a false story. But by then, the lie had already circled the globe. Millions still believed Shedeur was too arrogant to practice, while the truth barely got a fraction of the attention. And that's when the bigger picture came into focus. This was never about scout team reps. It was about the way Sanders chose to play the game behind the scenes, because here's what nobody could explain. Why would he choose Cleveland? On draft day, as his name slid into the later rounds, teams called franchises with quarterback needs, developmental programs that wanted a young arm, organizations that could actually use him, and yet Shadur chose the one team that didn't need him, didn't want him, and had no plans for him. The Browns had already sold their future on Deshaun Watson's $230 million guaranteed contract. They had their backup plans in place. Insiders admitted later they only drafted Sanders for potential trade value, figuring some team would eventually bite. Shadur knew all of this. His agent knew it. Dion knew it. And they signed anyway. Analysts called it career suicide. Why walk into a situation where you're guaranteed to rot on the bench? Why go to a city where fans already despised your family name? The answer is as simple as it is brilliant. Shadur wasn't chasing a starting spot. He was chasing the perfect environment to develop without pressure. Cleveland gave him just that. He could practice daily against elite defenders, learn the league's speed, absorb the system, and take hits that didn't count against his career. He could sharpen his mind, his timing, his body, while everyone else wrote him off. And in the meantime, he could build a brand that no third-string quarterback had ever dared to imagine. Nike didn't care where he sat on the depth chart. KFC didn't care if he hadn't thrown an NFL pass. Endorsements poured in, turning his rookie year into a financial windfall most veterans couldn't dream of. A random practice clip of Shedeur would generate 10,000 engagements online while the starters clips barely cracked 2,000. Journalists called it the Shedeur stimulus. Package, post his name and watch your metrics soar. His jersey became a bestseller in Cleveland despite him not playing a down. And the irony? The Browns, who drafted him with no intention of ever using him, were cashing checks off his presence. But the real genius wasn't the endorsements. It was the way he turned every criticism into fuel. When they called him entitled, he praised his practice squad teammates, giving shine to players on the margins of the league. When they mocked him for being buried on the depth chart, he framed it as a privilege, 6 games a week instead of 1. When reporters tried to bait him into complaining, he laughed it off, saying he didn't care if he played behind the ones, twos, or threes, he just wanted to compete. He flipped every insult into proof of his resilience. What most people don't know is the connection that made this all possible. Bill Musgrave, the Browns' quarterback coach guiding Shedeur every day, was once Deion's teammate. Back in the 90s, Musgrave was a backup quarterback grinding in anonymity during Deion's Super Bowl runs. In one blowout, Deion went to the sideline and begged the coach to let Musgrave get a few snaps. He wanted his teammate to have a moment on the game's biggest stage. The coach relented. Musgrave played in the Super Bowl because Shadur Sanders went to bat for him. Fast forward 30 years and that same Musgrave is now molding Deion's son in the NFL. That isn't coincidence. That's chess. Shadur isn't just learning from a quarterback coach. He's learning from a man who owes his father a debt. One who's passing down lessons rooted in loyalty, survival, and unseen work. The media has tried every angle. Entitlement, stupidity, pressure, but none of it sticks. His teammates publicly praise his work ethic. Coaches talk about his preparation. Even the practice squad receivers, the ones nobody covers, confirm that he treats every rep like game day. And behind it all, Sanders just keeps stacking advantages. He's building relationships with overlooked players who'll remember his loyalty when they get their chances. He's studying elite defenses without the public humiliation of rookie mistakes. He's cashing endorsement checks while other rookies are just hoping for practice squad stability. And most importantly, he's documenting everything. Every slight, every insult, every false story. He's not bitter about it, he's patient. When his time comes, the receipts will flip the narrative overnight. The same critics who called him arrogant will frame him as a visionary who played the long game. The same networks that roasted him will pivot into documentaries about how misunderstood he was. That's how the NFL works. Stories change when wins pile up, and Shedeur knows it, because the truth is, he isn't just waiting for opportunity. He's creating it. He turned Cleveland, the one team that didn't want him, into his personal laboratory. He's learning, developing, monetizing, and quietly proving that sometimes the worst situation is actually the best, if you have the patience and vision to play it right. The NFL thought Shadur Sanders was another spoiled kid. What they didn't realize is that he's been preparing for this moment his whole life. What do you think? Did Shadur Sanders make the smartest move of any rookie by choosing Cleveland? Or did he risk burying his career in a place that might never give him a chance? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter in one of the most fascinating stories in football.